What's up, guys? Just a little quick idea here, something I want to talk about real fast. Overload. It was kind of stimulated by something I saw earlier, but just it comes up constantly. In one way, shape, or form, people are talking about overload. You've got to overload your muscles. You've got to, you have to overload the system in order to get it to change. And yeah, that's true. But no, you're probably not thinking about it the right way. Maybe not all of you, but a lot of people have a misconception about what overload really means. In physiology, when we talk about, especially with respect to the muscles, progressive overload. That's normally the phrase that's used, is progressive overload. What we're talking about is a certain amount of stress or stimulus that's provided to the body or to the tissues of the body that those tissues are currently unaccustomed to. So anything that the body's not used to doing counts as overload. Overload does not mean it doesn't mean what we think it means. If you don't study physiology at all and you hear that word, well, how do you use it in normal everyday conversation, right? You say, oh, I'm overloaded today. Which normally means you're overwhelmed, that you're taking on too much, that you are taking on more than you can handle. That's not what we're talking about, especially when it comes to our muscles and the associated tissues that we're trying to build up or trying to stimulate when we exercise. When you're talking about overload with respect to exercise, all you're trying to do is send the body a signal. You're trying to say, hey, muscles, or hey, body, wake up, I need you to change. You're trying to stimulate a change, send it a signal. Give it some kind of a stimulus. You are not trying to break it down and just tear it to pieces. In the words of Lee Haney, I believe he was quoted as saying, stimulate, don't annihilate. Very, very powerful and telling words. Now, with that said, just because it rhymes doesn't mean it's always true. But in this case, I think it's a great thing to think about. So when you're trying to overload yourself, think about the reasons behind what you're doing and how much you can currently handle. For instance, if I lifted 100 pounds a day in a particular lift and I come back in a week and I'm feeling pretty good, maybe about the same, at least as good as I did last time, then maybe it's okay to try 105 or something. Or if I'm running on the treadmill for 20 minutes, maybe I can add a minute or 30 seconds to it at the same pace. Or slightly increase the grade or slightly increase the speed. Something. But it's these little incremental steps. You're progressing in a sensible way. You're strategically progressing yourself by giving these little shocks to the system. A little bit at a time. The whole idea of muscle confusion and having to shock the system massively and having to just break down the walls, it's really, it gives me headaches and makes me really, really worried sometimes with a lot of the things that we see, products out there that I won't name, but you know what they are. Different products and exercise movements that really champion intensity over everything else. For certain people, that might be fine. But for the general public, really, I think what you need to keep in mind is just that it's really not about shooting for the moon immediately or for the stars. You're going for just something that's a little bit past where you are today. Now, as you get to know your body better and as you become more athletic or gain more ability, you might be able to play with those margins a little bit more. But that's a conversation for another day. That's something that you shouldn't worry about right now. So, overload, yeah, it's misunderstood. What it really means is you're just incrementally increasing the stress on your body. And those incremental increases, or those little progressions over time, are what add up. And eventually, you've made a huge difference. You don't do that overnight. You don't do that in one workout or in a week. I don't care who you are. Human physiology just doesn't work that fast. And that's okay. You just have to know what you're doing. Over time, progressive overload, bit by bit. And you'll probably get where you want to go. Just be smart about it. So I wanted to share that with you. Hopefully that hits home with somebody. I'll be blogging in more detail about this soon, I hope. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching.